Thomas Rhett. No matter how hardcore or casual you are, if you followed country music in any capacity over the last 5 or 6 years, that's a name you're probably well familiar with or you've at least heard of. Since he got his foot in the door back in 2012, it's been a pretty steady climb to superstardom for Thomas. In that time, he's released 5 albums which have collectively churned out 17 #1 hits on country airplay, 2 more cracked the top 10 with a grand total of 27 songs making the top 50. Out of his 5 albums, his 3 most recent all went #1, with his first 2 records both peaking at runner-up. The point I'm trying to make is Thomas Rhett has had a pretty fruitful career so far, but in all honesty, I was never truly on board until his Country Again album in 2021. That album inspired me to go give the rest of his music a listen, because though I had a solid understanding of who he was, I knew the singles and the fan favorites and his come-up story. I knew pretty much all there is to know. I had just never done a super thorough, intentional listen through his discography. So that's what I've been doing over the last little while, and today I am happy to bring you guys my top 10 favorite Thomas Rhett songs. You guys know the deal with these top 10 videos, it is just my opinion, there is no correct list, and no, Beer with Jesus is not in my top 10. In fact, I didn't even give it an honorable mention. I'm just going to address that now so y'all aren't waiting for it, because I know that song is like a cult following for some reason. It's not on my list. Alright? We're good? Cool. Now that we've discussed what's not on my list, let's discuss what is on my list, and more specifically, what's at my number 10 spot. What is my number 10, you ask? It is Life Changes. Each artist seems to have a songwriting concept or idea that they just have a knack for expressing and delivering. Midland excels in seductive, flirtatious songs, people like Parker McCollum always seem to deliver in the heartbreak category, and for Thomas Rhett, I would argue he's at his shining best when talking about the journey of life. Transitioning into new chapters, his progression from a child to a teenager to a young adult to where he is now as a father, I just think few people provide that wholesome, down-to-earth angle in a manner as likable and digestible as Thomas. He has so many songs in this vein, and I would start rhyming them off, but a decent chunk of them may or may not appear later in this video. For now, we're on Life Changes, which is all about, as you could probably guess, the changes that come with life, the unexpected twists and turns, but despite there being bumps in the road, whenever Thomas stops and looks back, he's happy everything good or bad happened because it allowed him to be where he is today. One thing that's always stood out to me and made me wonder is the intended attitude in which he's delivering these lines, because while on the surface it appears to be a feel-good song about accepting the sudden changes in life, I can't help but feel some of the lines are coming from a place of sassy backhandedness that makes me giggle. Specifically that second verse when he talks about people judging him for getting married young, but it's worked out, and now she's got a blue check mark by her Instagram, and ever since Thomas wrote a song about her, suddenly everybody wants to die happy. I love how he references his own song. I love that little dash of ego he sprinkles on top. Whether it was intentional or not, I'm going to choose to hear it as like a look who's coming back around kind of attitude, but we'll never know, and I'm okay with that. But speaking of everybody wanting to die happy, coming in at number 9, it's the song referenced in Life Changes, Die a Happy Man. Baby, last night was him. As I mentioned in the intro, Thomas has had a lot of hits, but Die a Happy Man was by far the biggest, spending a casual 17 weeks at the #1 spot. It's one of those generational love songs like Ed Sheeran's Thinking Out Loud. Pretty much everyone knows this song. Whether they know who Thomas Rhett is or not, odds are they could sing along to it or at least know somebody who danced to it at their wedding. Even though it is a pretty simple, you're all I need in this life love song, I find it hard to dislike. Instrumentally, it's super bare, just a warm electric guitar with some super light acoustic instruments accenting it throughout. It's a guitar tone I absolutely love, that fuzzy, warm electric, especially with a little delay on the slap. You can also find it on songs like River Road by Zayn, Self-Control by Frank Ocean, Insane by Ernest. I just think the simplicity of it brings the intimacy. Die a Happy Man is bluesy, it's catchy, there's so many different melodies in this song that are all equally catchy, and yeah, it's simple but simultaneously, in my opinion, one of the quintessential 2010s country love ballads. We're going to switch locations for this next pick, going from the bedroom to the beach. At the 8th spot, I've got the irresistibly fun Beer Can't Fix with Jon Pardi. Ain't nothing that a beer can't fix. This is easily my favorite track from his 2019 album Centerpoint Road. It's just such a jam. If you somehow haven't heard it, Beer Can't Fix is just as deep as you think it is. It's Thomas Rhett and Jon Pardi sitting on a beach, drinking away their issues because there ain't nothing that a beer can't fix. It could be raining on your perfect vacation, you could be stressed about your work situation, you could be watching your team lose a championship, whatever hard time you might find yourself in, there ain't nothing that a beer can't fix. The production is funny, it's jovial, it's inviting. The whistling adds so much to the laid-back, carefree vibe. I think John Pardi was the absolute perfect pick for this song. He brings so much energy and humor and charisma. The more tropical percussive elements add so much flavor. I'm doing my best to articulate what makes this song such a jam, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun, and that's that. For the number 7 spot, we're gonna retrace our steps from the beach back to the bedroom. It's Kiss Me Like a Stranger.
Kiss me like a stranger, baby, hold me.
Over these last few years, as I've become a more and more dedicated hardcore music fan, I've begun noticing I really cling to smooth music. No matter the genre, I find myself revisiting the smoother cuts more than most others, whether it be Midland, pieces of Ernest's debut record, Giveon, Silk Sonic, specific songs like Me on Whiskey, I Don't Know a Thing About Love, Corduroy Dreams. I like smooth music, and it's hard to find anything smoother than Kiss Me Like a Stranger. This song just feels like bubbles, rose petals, and neon pink walls. The synth runs are as dreamy as you'll ever get. The horns near the end are such a subtle but significant addition. It's not a very country song, but I'm fine with that. If the end result is going to be this addictive, quite frankly, I don't care what genre you choose to do it in. Naturally, Thomas has a super dry, clean voice that works really well on this track. I love when the instrumental does a little Simon Says with the lyrics a few times throughout. It honestly just sounds like a dreamy version of Silk Sonic. Like, imagine if Silk Sonic was based in the clouds. That's what this song sounds like to me, and I love every bit of it. Next up at the number 6 spot, I've got Want It Again. From the very moment Want It Again was released, it has stuck with me. Everyone was talking about Growing Up because they were released together, but Want It Again was always the one I found more compelling lyrically and sonically, even if it's not as catchy as Growing Up, which is, well, catchy. Want It Again is about a girl Thomas was in a relationship with when they were younger, but it ended up falling through. However, despite both her and Thomas moving on, he always felt that relationship may come around again, so he kept his heart for her somewhere good and safe in case she ever wanted it again in the future. And as the song goes, in the bridge, the girl gets into a big fight with her boyfriend at the time and ends up running back to Thomas, and the final chorus isn't an I told you so moment as much as like an I'm glad this came together moment. It's just such an original, romantic song about patience that requires a lot of maturity. Whether the song is true or not, I just love the message it's putting across, but I equally love the sound it's putting across. There's something about this minimal, dry, modern, rustic sound that I love. It's all over Country Against Side A. It's also featured heavily on Kanan Smith's new album. This dusty, rough sound that's conflicted by these more modern sounds like the deep, bassy kick. It all comes together way better than I'd ever think it would. I think it's super fitting on a song like Want It Again. The drifting steel that just fades in and out adds so much space. I think the backing vocals overlap each other in a really cool way. What's not to love about Want It Again? We've made it to the halfway point in this video, and emphatically snatching up the number 5 spot on my list is 16. 16 is another one of those songs I was talking about earlier that's built on the journey of life. The saying is mentioned in the bridge, but the song is built around the idea of the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, and saying how when you're younger, all you want is to be older, but once you're older, you want nothing more than to be young again. I think it's a super universal idea everyone can relate to. Sonically, I've always felt a lot of Eric Church influence on this one, and seeing how he referenced Eric throughout Country Against Side A, maybe that was a good observation. Instrumentally, it's got a bit more southern rock influence. Those nice ringing retro electrics lay nicely over top of the anthemic yet rootsy drums. Even the delivery feels very reminiscent of Eric Church, the way Thomas wobbles his notes at the end of the lines. Just in general, his delivery is a lot more free-flowing and conversational, but really it's the concept of the song that steals the show for me. Next up, at number 4, I've got another newer one. It's Heaven Right Now.
I still punch the dashboard, hurts every time
I love this song. Heaven Right Now is a one-way conversation between Thomas and his friend in heaven. It's almost like Thomas leaving a voicemail for his friend, filling him in on all that's happening down here on Earth, and then in the chorus he flips it and asks what his friend is doing up in heaven because he figures there's probably much more cooler stuff going on in heaven, asking if he's fishing or flying, if he's older or younger, has he met Johnny Cash. But the reason I think this song carries so much weight is because it's a true story. It's about an actual person Thomas lost. The song is written about his friend Hunter, who is incredibly close with both him and his wife Lauren, and you feel that sincerity all over this song, especially in the specific lyrics that have been truly lived. This isn't a vague, blanket term coping with death song. It's very distinct and unique to Thomas. I specifically love the passage in the bridge where he talks about this memory bracelet him and his wife actually own and wear all the time. It's the little things like that that make this song carry a lot more weight and emotion, and I just love every bit of it. We've reached that point in the video where we do a quick pause on the regular list to highlight some honorable mentions. First up, To the Guys That Date My Girls is a funny but very heartfelt and stern message from father to future son-in-law. It's Thomas giving advice to the guys that are going to date his girls in the future. I've always loved the concept of Marry Me. I think it's super sad, and the way the lyrics paint Thomas into the background of his wedding I find super heavy and compelling. My only issue is I've never been a big fan of the production. Thomas has a few songs like this where this massive, larger-than-life, anthemic production really spoils it for me. I don't like pianos that feel bigger than the CN Tower. I don't want massive drums ringing to the moon and back, but I still think the idea of the song is really cool. And lastly, for the honorable mentions, I have the poppiest song featured in this video. It's Tangled. I think it's a really good time. I'm not a fan of Thomas's early pop stuff that runs more along the lines of house EDM music, but I can get behind the sound on Tangled. It feels very 24K Magic, but Thomas sounds surprisingly fitting. I think Thomas is really good at being fun, and it's a cool trait to have, and I just think this song is a bop. And speaking of having fun, hopping onto the podium, taking the bronze medal, it's Make Me Wanna. That little guitar intro alone is enough to get me hyped up. Quick tip of advice when Make Me Wanna comes on: don't talk to me. I am busy for 3 minutes and 45 seconds. It's one of those songs that I truly find hard to resist from dancing to, or at bare minimum throwing a little hop in my step. It's one of my go-to feel-good songs. There's just so much life and energy around every corner. The little organ shots throughout just give it some extra juice. The strings give it such a classic feel that ties it all together. The best word I can use is groovy. This song is very groovy. Whenever it comes on, consciously or subconsciously, I can't help but sway my shoulders or nod my head to the beat, and I think it's really cool when music's able to do that. Coming in as the runner-up, my second favorite song from Mr. Rhett, it's The Day You Stop Looking Back.
Yeah, the day that you stop looking back.
The Day You Stop Looking Back is a deeper cut from his Tangled album that I never got to for a while, but ever since I have, it's just been one of my most played Thomas Rhett songs. It's such a down-to-earth message to this girl, but I think even myself, when it comes on, I hear it as a little reset button. Like, calm down, be realistic here. The song itself is Thomas telling this girl she needs to move on from this other guy. The day she stops looking back is the day she starts moving on. The day you stop looking back, you're gonna find that the future sure beats the hell out of the past. Like I said, it's presented almost like a reset button. Thomas is reassuring her the world's gonna keep spinning, the sun's still gonna come up, and it's this down-to-earth delivery and tone that makes everything feel so much more real. Right away, he opens the song with "Stop staring at the rear view, you ain't checking your hair," and I love the blunt nature in which he addresses the situation. I also like how he's not using this as an opportunity to take the other guy's place. If someone like Chris Lane did this, it would just turn into Fill Them Boots. But I like how this song is just Thomas genuinely trying to help this girl out, get her on her feet and moving again, get the train back on the tracks, and you guys can comment like, "Oh, what a simp song, simp," and whatever else, but I find it way more compelling. We've heard the song a million times where a girl goes through a breakup and the guy tries to take his place in a flirty way. And don't get me wrong, there are some good songs written like that, but I just find this change of pace so intriguing. And it really helps separate itself from the pack, and I just think it's an all-around brilliant song, both lyrically and musically. I would do a big gateway into my number one spot, try to make it dramatic, but especially if you're a regular viewer of the channel, I think you know what it is. My favorite Thomas Rhett song has to be You Heard.
'Cause I look at the screen, I go from 10.
Honestly, You Heard doesn't have the craziest storyline of all time. It doesn't have the most wowing production featured on this list, but it had to be my number one simply because A, I love it, but B, it's like a combination of everything I think best suits Thomas pulled together in a really appealing way. Especially as the closer to Country Again side A, I think it's just the perfect culmination of everything I love from that record pooled into one. Musically, it's golden, it's bright, it's folky, it just radiates positivity. The harmonica is such a nice added bit of color. And I love the drums. Normally on songs like this, it can be really easy to overdo the percussive elements, but not only did they not overdo it, but but they did it so spot on to the point where it's one of my favorite elements. The chugging train track beat is just so soft and cushioning, but lyrically, again, is where this song wins me over. It's another one of these pit stop songs about looking back on life. It's Thomas reflecting on all the major things in his life he's prayed for, and how at the time he didn't think his prayers were making it through the ceiling, but now he's at a point in his life where he can look back and realize all the things that he did pray for, whether it be his future wife, his career, his future kids. He can see that all throughout, God heard. I love the content state of mind Thomas is in on this track. It's just so contagious, and it also happens to take the #1 spot on my list. So, those are my top 10 favorite Thomas Rhett songs. Be sure to let me know your favorites in the comments below. And while you're down there, drop some names of other artists you guys would like to see a top 10 on. I know you guys seem to enjoy these, so I want to crank out some more for you guys. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like. If you're new, maybe consider subscribing for more country music content. And yeah, until next time, have a great day.